towards the end, I remember getting like a bag of cocaine, and I was by myself, and I was like, I don't know this dealer. This was just like a strange guy. And I was like, there's fentanyl running rampant in the city. And I said, I don't care. I actually remember this thought being like, if there's fentanyl in this, God willing, that's my time. And that to me is terrifying, that you don't care to live or die so you couldn't do your drug, And I know every addict can relate to that. And it chokes me up to think that I didn't value my own life to that level,
Warning. This episode contains a real conversation about addiction, drug use,
and suicide.
It may be triggering. Take care of yourself.
Listener discretion is advised.
This is the Sober Tapes. Raw stories of addiction, recovery, and the fight to live sober. Let's roll the tape.
Give us your name and your sobriety date if you feel comfortable doing so.
I do feel comfortable doing so. Thank you. My name is Rachel Kerr, and April 15th, 2023 is my sobriety date.
So tell us a little bit about Rachel and where she grew up and what family life looked like.
Yes. So Rachel's life, I guess I can speak about myself in the first person now. My childhood was really great. My parents were fantastic. It was middle-class working family. My dad was a welder. My mom had like 3 jobs and raised 2 kids. And they were great. It was so much fun. We grew up pre-internet, so we were out there doing the most, bikes, drinking out of the hoses, climbing the trees, playing soccer. So life was good. There was no any justifiable reason to drink like I drank and have an addiction in theory, What we think maybe made us who we are today in addiction. We always look at our childhood, but I have nothing but like beautiful things to say,
So when did drugs and alcohol enter your life? Like when do you remember seeing drugs and alcohol? Was it like at home, mom and dad, or was it like at school sneaking around?
A little bit of both. My parents definitely used. My parents smoked a lot of marijuana. I guess we can swear and say.
Yeah, you can say weed. Yeah, you do whatever you want.
The rooms.
Yeah.
My parents smoked weed, and all my aunts and uncles, like we were kind of like the party house, the party family. Everybody was vibey, and like everything goes very hippy dippy, like Fleetwood Mac was always playing, and the house just smelled weird, and like very loving and great. And my dad was a beer drinker, and basically there was just always alcohol and drugs around. But I didn't see it in any negative light. Like everybody was very loving. Like my dad would drink too much and he would want to hug and kiss us and tell us his like truths. But they were like loving, and he'd be like, always hug your brother, do you tell your mom you love her today? And it was like always really like kind and endearing. So it wasn't until my mom told me when I was a little bit older, she's like, your dad's an alcoholic. Did you know that? And I was like, what? It's just not what I pictured an alcoholic to be. It certainly wasn't the alcoholic I turned out to be in the end, but yeah, I was a loving drunk at some point too, but it was of a detriment to his health. And maybe there was times when my parents were smoking or drinking. My mom didn't drink until my dad died, ironically enough. And I'm sure my dad is turning in his grave, all those years he could have been cocktailing with her, but it wasn't until I realized that my dad's health had suffered from. So like he wasn't a bottom of the barrel drunk like you would suspect, but he couldn't stop and he drank daily. And I think I get my can't stop once I start from him. And then at school, the kids were all doing it, but it was not special to me. It was just another thing in the day-to-day life of like being a teenager. So it wasn't until I realized that I could like steal my parents' drugs and gift them, or I didn't really sell them. I don't know, when you're a teenager, like I didn't need money. I just wanted to be cool and like wanted the guys to like me and like hang out, call Rachel, like she could get drugs from her parents. And that's what I did. I used to like steal buds from all their weed stashes like throughout the week. And then like by the weekend came, like I was the girl to call. And then, it's always been around, but not bad, not negative. It was just kind of there.
Sure. So from your first drink or drug to when you kind of saw a problem arising, like what kind of time frame did that look like?
Mm-hmm. I don't remember my first drink, and I know that's very memorable for a lot of the people in the program. For me, my cousins used to throw these like epic parties. We lived in a townhouse, and my aunts and cousins lived down there. My parents used to bowl every Friday. So every Friday we were drinking and, getting in a quick party before the parents came home. And so around there is when I started to drink. And it wasn't like overly special. I did feel warm and fuzzy and like anti-anxiety and cool and all the things. But it wasn't ever a thought day to day. However, throughout the years, I developed, for sure, terrible habits around alcohol. It was a progressive addiction, I believe. I don't know if that is an actual term or a thing, but for me, I don't believe I was an addict at that time, but I believe, life stuck it to me in a couple of ways that I had, created really bad habits. And it was the only thing I really knew. And I went for it.
What kind of habits were those?
When I was upset, I would just, indulge in not wanting to feel. I didn't realize at the time it was like feelings were bad. These are emotions. So let's get numb, But also I was the girl as I got older. Like, you hear women like, oh, I just really need a glass of wine at the end of the day. Or like, I was that girl. And I was always like, wanting an excuse to drink. And I was always the girl that was like trying to get people to drink with me. Sunday fun day, brunch, like glamorizing alcohol and my friends loved it and they bought into it. But I'm realizing now as like an adult, I was just trying to keep the noise going, the party going, not having to feel the things, And so I think I started relatively normal drinking like a good Scottish girl would, and then just went the distance on that.
So was there like a moment in time of when you're drinking and drugging, like you thought, hey, maybe I have a problem, but then tried to ignore it? Like, was there like a moment you're like, this is it?
Yeah, no. So people would tell me I was like out of control. And like my version of out of control is like over, like there's no, like everything is yes. We can go for days. Like, yes, get the bottle. Yes, let's do this party. I never was shy or scared. Like, let's get this party going and you're coming and you bring your friends and I'll pay the bill. Like it was always, I was the party girl. So it wasn't until like, as I got older, people around me were like, are you all right? Like, that's not acceptable. And like my ex, he said to me one day, like, I think you're an alcoholic. And he said it like in a little bit of a fighting manner. So I was just like, well, you're just trying to hurt my feelings. Like, that can't be true. I couldn't possibly be exhibiting these, traits. And alternatively, I felt he had a problem, like true addicts. And so what's crazy about my sobriety and my addiction, and I see this in a lot of still using addicts, they have no clue they're addicts. I had no clue that my compulsion to use is what drove this insanity. I didn't think I had a problem at all. And it wasn't until the God shot that got me here that I had anything wrong with me. I thought I was normal. And that's the scariest part of all of this. And they say in the program, like, if you want to know if you're an alcoholic, try to quit drinking. And when I tried to quit drinking, that's when I knew I had a real freaking problem on my hands,
Did you ever try to hide it?
Oh my gosh, yeah, towards the end, like, not even towards the end. Like, I mostly had to also hide my hangovers because I had crippling anxiety growing up and well into my adult life. So I drank to calm nerves, right? So like I would be going to like business meetings or presentations and taking shots of Jack Daniels from a flask from my purse in the car and then cover it with gum. And like, again, my girlfriends do meetings and they don't have to take shots before the meeting. Do you know what I mean? Like, what in the world? So did I hide it? Yeah, I hid my hangovers. I vomited profusely the next day, never during the drinking hours. It was always days later. I was very sick. So I would hide that. And I would hide hair of the dog. That was like my saving grace. I always, had to save some champagne or save some wine or save some vodka for the next morning when I felt sick. Like I would be vomiting and then chugging alcohol. So it was like letting my body detox, but then like trying to get it regulated. Like, and you're smiling at me because I know you've done this. Like, we do this and it's insane,
Did you ever think at that time that you might have a problem?
Oh, no.
That's the delusion.
That's the delusion. This is the insanity.
Yeah.
And this is the solution to the problem in which I've created for myself. Not being like taking 10 steps back, being like, what's the real problem here? I'm just like, okay, vomit, drink this, and then get about your day. And then at 4 o'clock, you can start all over again.
So towards the end of your addiction, Give me like a day in the life of like addict, alcoholic Rachel.
Oof.
What did that look like?
Okay, you might have gotten like a solid work day or like normal day out of me, like Tuesday and Wednesday, but like, you know, Thursday was we were really starting, and Sunday was like my favorite day, but then that would, you know, make Monday look like, you know, Monday was the hangover day. And then I would say to myself, okay, I really need to get my shit together. I'm not drinking until Friday. And, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'd start to feel better. Wednesday night, sometimes I even start again. God forbid you invite me over for dinner, or like there's something going on Tuesday. Now I'm starting on Tuesday, you know? And so the days looked like doing bare minimum work, which is in my upbringing, you know, we're a working class family, we work hard. That's what ate me alive. That was just a piece of shit, you know? Like I would barely answer my phone. I couldn't answer my phone because of the anxiety. I'd be so hungover. You know, people just thought I was negligent, but I physically couldn't talk to people anymore. I was so isolated and so anxiety ridden and sick that I couldn't function at life. It was just survival, and it's a vicious, vicious cycle. And I don't even remember, like, for years, like, there was no routine, you know? Like, now I know in sobriety, we all really value our routine. And like, no, I can't do a girls' weekend at the cottage. Like, I need to sleep at 9 and I need to be up at 7. And, you know, there was no routine or regular, like, everything was very bizarro world, just trying to make it work, you know? And it's exhausting to live like that. And every addict knows living to survive is no life to live at all, you know?
What does your relationship with your friends and family look like at this point?
I know that there was grievances, and I know that the people closest to me didn't understand addiction. And I think I hid it to a certain degree quite well. So it wasn't until sobriety that I explained a lot of my behavior. And they understood. They put the pieces together, you know? But there was a few friends that really stepped up and could see. Ironically, I had at one point a personal trainer, because this was going to fix the problems of my mind and health, right? I'm going to just go see a personal trainer. He saw through my bullshit, and I was flighty, and I, you know, couldn't commit to, I'd show up hungover, sometimes still drunk. And he said one day, you know, like, you look haggard. And like, coming from a big, gorgeous, personal trainer, and he told me that, I said, oh Lord, I've hit rock. Like for some reason this really resonated, and that was the first time that I didn't even think it was a problem. I just thought I had to cut back. I was like, okay, so it's the cocaine, it's not the alcohol. Like, okay, so just this weekend I need to like chill out on the bag, you know? But of course every drink equals bags. And you know, my business partners and my best friend, who is also my business partner, Wanda, God bless her, she didn't understand, I don't think, or knew how bad I was. I think she knew I was going through separation. I had some physical health ailments. And so I think she just thought I was going through a hard time. I don't think she realized I was like going to drugs and alcohol as hardcore as I was.
Did any of your friends or family try to like intervene and help you get better? Like, did anyone like make that move, or did they kind of just give you your space?
Everybody gave me my space. I think everybody was there for me, and they were supportive. But I also didn't think I had a problem. So like, I didn't know what I was asking for help for, you know? My ex and I, we had a house together, and ironically enough, he checked himself. We separated. He made the choice to leave me, and as he should have. I was toxic, I was vile, I was unhappy. And he checked himself into rehab. And to this day, I am so embarrassed with my behavior, because while he went to rehab, I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. I drank and used like he did. And I said, okay, well, good luck with that. And I'm just going to go over here and keep going. I'm not going to make any significant changes. Like, again, the insanity.
The delusion.
The delusion.
Yeah.
Here's the best part. While he was in, he went to Costa Rica and went to the addiction center in San Jose. I went to Costa Rica to a music festival. I did the geographical, what is it?
The geographical fix?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I went for
people, places, things?
Yeah. I left. I was like, I'm sick here, but I'll be good over there.
Sure.
Well,
How'd that go for you?
Oh, I came home and got sober shortly after. Let's just, you know, I'm going straight to the source. You know, I'm on the borderline of Colombia. Like, yeah, things are cheap. Sun is shining. Life is good. And he was in rehab, and I flew to San Jose and landed there, and got on another bus and went to Tamarindo and partied. while this man who was with me for 10 years is in rehab. And I thought this was normal behavior. Like, you know, and that will be one of my biggest regrets, that like, I just thought I was good. You know, people around me were bettering themselves, starting families, saving money, traveling, having like these beautiful life experiences. And I'm by myself going to Belize, to Costa Rica, like hitting the bag and meeting strangers. This is great. This is crazy town.
What is one of the scariest moments that you had in active addiction or alcoholism?
Oh, that's a really good question. No specific, like obviously as a young lady, I put myself in crazy, you know, places and bars and 5 a.m. places, and no specific story comes to mind, but I can definitely say I drank and drove quite often, and embarrassingly, I put other people at risk, and that's super hard for me to swallow, because in my daily life now, I pride myself in like being kind to others and taking care of people and wanting to be a safe place. To think that I risked society who were just living innocent lives and myself, you know, like had I have died in any of these circumstances, like my poor family doesn't deserve that, you know? So like I didn't do anything, you know, over the top dangerous other than drinking and driving, but also towards the end, I remember getting like a bag of cocaine, and I was by myself, and I was like, you know, I don't know this dealer. This was just like a strange guy. And I was like, there's fentanyl running rampant in the city. And I said, I don't care. I actually remember this thought being like, if there's fentanyl in this, God willing, that's my time. And that to me is terrifying, that you don't care to live or die so you couldn't do your drug, you know? And I know every addict can relate to that. And it chokes me up to think that I didn't value my own life to that level, you know?
Was there any moments that you didn't think you were going to make it out alive?
No. Listen, I'm Scottish, okay? We're freaking good at partying and drinking. I always somehow manage to make it, you know, and do it in a responsible-esque way. But I kind of grew up with like a street smarts about it, so I never really got too far into it that way, you know?
What did day one look like for you?
In sobriety.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. I got sober, and why I'm so open about my sobriety is because my girlfriend, who's also Scottish and pivotal in my sobriety, Callie, I saw her at Christmas, and she said, oh, I'm going to do dry January. I just want to see, you know, how I feel. And I was like, okay, bitch, call me in February, because I ain't hanging out with you then, you know? And I saw her a couple times, but yeah, I literally distanced myself from her, you know? And not intentionally, but subconsciously. And she had invited me to a yoga conference in downtown Toronto, Metro Convention, on a Sunday. So I paid $70 for my ticket, and I'm like, okay, like I like yoga, but like this isn't anything I need to be doing. But I wanted to go with her, and it sounded good at the time. Probably said yes when I was drunk, and you know, we do that. So I started partying on a Thursday by myself, okay? And I went until Sunday. Probably I had 6 hours of sleep from Thursday to Sunday. I got in my car on Sunday morning, drove, picked up another girlfriend, went to Metro Convention Center for a yoga conference, okay? I don't even know how I did this, to face people, to get in a car, to do physical activity. Like, again, I don't know. I must have still been high. This yoga conference was like a Reiki healing / yoga, and the instructor was telling us to pray. So we did like an hour of yoga, and then we did an hour of meditation. And in this meditation, she's like, just pray. And I was like, what the fuck? I don't know how to pray. Like, what does praying mean? Like, when I say spiritually bankrupt prior to this program, I was a true definition. You know, I didn't grow up with any religious influence. So I just started to cry. And I remember I was so tired and just saying, and maybe this was praying, but what is wrong with me? I need help. I don't know what's wrong. I couldn't put the pieces together. I was in such denial that I had let substances dictate my feelings and reality, that I just cried and begged for help. I don't know if that was to God or to myself or the God of my understanding. And when it was finished, we got in the car to go home. My girlfriend said, you know, I've been lying to you. I'm 3 months sober, and I've been using the program of AA. And I was like, oh my God. And that's the God shot right there. That was the message to me. Hello, you have a problem with alcohol. And I cried. And not like sobbing, but like I got really touched. And the next day I went to an AA meeting with her. We went to the King City group because I didn't want to know anybody. I didn't want anybody to know that I might have a problem because I wasn't that convinced I was staying. You know, I had that profound moment, but then the next day when it was time to like stay sober, I was like, oh dear Lord, what did I just do? You know, I started having anxiety about telling people that I had a problem. I regretted it. You know what I mean? So my first day I was still detoxing from that, you know, whole bender. My nose was running like crazy. So I was at this King City meeting, like crying, nose is running. People are talking to me. I'm like, oh, just like, don't talk to me right now. I can't do it. Like but I really enjoyed it. It really resonated, all the things, and people were really warm and welcoming in the program. And I think at this time, that's what I was missing, you know? So that day one was a Monday, and I was like, what a way to start a Monday. And I said, this Monday, I am not going to drink till Friday. I'm not going to drink at all. And I just started going to meetings as often as possible. You know, like I had to, my life was depending on it. And I reached out to a friend of mine whose father is in the program for, he just celebrated 25 years, I believe. And his wife just on Monday at Erin Mills, Meg, she just celebrated 25 years. So I called them and they were so amazing. You know, she said to me right away, Rachel, nobody likes a drunk older lady. Like nobody likes a drunk woman, a sloppy drunk. Enough is enough. You know, you're not 20, you're 39. Like, you know, you blew up your life, your man left you, your house is gone, like your business is going to shit. Like, what are you holding on to? That honesty saved my life. And he said, you know, get your ass to a meeting. And because he's my friend's dad, and he has seen me drink. You know, I drank at his son's wedding, and we've been to Christmas and Thanksgiving. We've done some holidays together. And he said, I always knew you were meant to be here, but I just had to quietly wait from the sidelines. And again, just like this selfless desire to want to help. I didn't want to help nobody. I could barely help myself. And then these people calling me every day, texting, remembering my dry date. That was like, I didn't even know it was my 30 day. And people were like, happy 30 days. And I was like, holy shit. How do they remember? Anyway, I think I've really veered off here, but
That's all right.
yeah.
It's fine.
The first day and the first week was really a wild ride, and I loved it.
What were some of the hardest things about early sobriety?
You know, I'll be honest with you. Can I say the first week was hard? No, because I was so tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired. I really resonated with that in the program. I had nothing left in me. There was no more fight, no more nothing. So I just did what they told me. Surrender, pure surrender. And a lot of funny stuff happened to me in the beginning of sobriety. Like, you know, people would tell me to meet them at like this coffee shop. I'd go to the other coffee shop at the wrong time. Like I was frazzled mess. You know, I was trying to go to this meeting. I ended up at that meeting. You know, I went to like an Al-Anon meeting and not an AA. Like I just was dizzy, you know, couldn't get into churches, couldn't find the meetings. And yeah, I didn't find it hard. I just found it strange. I felt like I was living in like bizarro land. Like at some points I felt like, is this real? Is this real? Like I felt like I was in a dream. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And there was some mild detox. I know a friend of mine said, do you think you need to go to detox? I didn't, again, believe to be that bad of a user, but maybe I could have safely detoxed because I did have the shakes. I had crippling headaches. I had the fever. I couldn't sleep. And then I could sleep for 14 hours, had no appetite. And then like, it was just, there was nothing linear.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm well aware.
I know you know.
I'm well aware. What were some of the easy parts about early sobriety?
Easy parts were, for me, the people in the program and communicating my story. You know, I was so desperate once I realized I had a problem, it was very easy for me to accept that because I look back at my life and there was so much crazy shit that I did outside of my character, you know? So it was easy for me to ask for help at this point now. Like, I'm a problem solver. I saw now that I understood, you know, step one. I had the most beautiful step one. It was my saving grace. You know, when I admitted that my life was unmanageable and I was powerless over alcohol and drugs, my life became better. The fight was gone. I was relieved of this burden. And I really dove into that. And I did say to myself, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to give it my all, because what's my alternative? To live like how I was living? I cannot. I'd rather die. And that's where it would have gone.
Have you lost anyone in sobriety? Like, are there friends or family or people that don't talk to you anymore? Any relationships you couldn't mend?
Yes, I have physically lost my grandfather. And it was the most beautiful thing. I am so grateful that when he went to the hospital on his dying days, I was the only one there with him, leading up to, like, everybody came and visited, but at night whenever we would go home, because he was elderly and it was his exit, I was there with him. And I also experienced that with my father. And unfortunately with my father, my friends developed something called the car bar and would drive to the hospital, pop the trunk, and we would have wine and drinks in the parking lot. The irony of this is there in the bushes, there was other bottles of alcohol and Mickey's like tossed in the bushes at the hospital in the parking lot. And I was like, okay, it affirmed that my behavior was right and that this was the answer, you know? And I'll to this day regret that I wasn't 100% there mentally and physically for the rest of my family, because I was like in the parking lot drinking. I'll never regret that part because my friends showed like real support. They're like, what does Rachel need? And unfortunately it was alcohol, but they did it for me. And I love that. And I love them for that. Shout out to the car bar. And then so with my grandfather, I was very sober. And let me tell you something, to watch somebody die in such a manner is an honor and a privilege. And to be by their side to comfort them is my greatest gift. To be sober for that. And for the first time in my life, I didn't make my feelings about me, you know, like that would have driven me to a freaking bender. Like, you know, I watched somebody die. Me, like that's my grandfather. Like it was so disgusting how selfish and egocentric and like ill-behaved I am in these profound times. So that was really, I'm super proud that I was sober in time for that, because I also got to be there for my mom, my grandmother, and these are the reasons why we get sober, you know. There are some friends I lost, and my ex. There isn't communication, and that does make me very sad. And I understand that with these people, I was the worst version of myself, you know. I wouldn't be friends with me or talk to me anymore either. I did damage, physical, psychological. I was a terror, you know. So I just hope one day part of why I stay sober is to show these people I recognize what I did to you, therefore I stay sober. You know, I hope it's not in vain that they just think, oh, like she just went and got sober because, you know, somebody told, no, I get sober for reasons like this. I acknowledge what I did to you, therefore I stay clean, you know?
Sure, like a living amends.
A living amends, yeah, is that what that's called?
Yeah,
I should
living
never heard
amends.
that.
Yeah, because like you can say sorry all you want. You can make amends to somebody, and sometimes amends, you know, isn't fixing something that you've done or giving someone money back that you'd stolen or borrowed. It's just like not doing that and acting like that and behaving like that anymore. And so it's an amends that you'd live the rest of your life.
I love that.
Have you gained anyone in sobriety?
Oh my goodness, I have gained a whole community. You know, the AA program and the CA and the NA program, I've been to all, are everywhere you go. These are your family, you know, like it's amazing how you can walk into a group of strangers and just connect. And, you know, I've gone to meetings all over. Every time I travel, I always make an effort to go. I went to Florida, a meeting on the beach, and their welcome chip had a little seashell on it. Like, and
Come on.
Yeah, it was adorable. And I was like, how do I get to this job?
Yes.
It's like gluing seashells to the thing. But I have gained a lot of sober friends, but also, Drew, I have reconnected and dove really deep with the friends I have, you know. My close girlfriends who supported me through this I just know them better. I want to be there for them. I want to do everything I can to build them up. So have I gained more of an abundance? No, but have I like secured and you know, really put the nail on the coffin in terms of just solidifying friendships and relationships? And yeah, there's so many people now in my life that wouldn't tolerate me. Like, I want to hang out with high quality people who do great things, and they don't want to be around people like you and I when we're high. You know, like I used to get high and tell people about their problems, you know?
What's one of the greatest gifts you've received in sobriety?
This is a good question because I think anybody who's considering getting sober curious, or doesn't know if it's worth it to, you know, endure the pain or uncomfort that you're feeling in the beginning of sobriety, my greatest gift is my peace and sanity. You know, I live and walk a free woman. You know, in the program, they say, live a free man. To some, this might not make sense, but to somebody who lived in our shoes, to live resent-free, grunge-free, at peace, you know, we are bored a lot. You know, I feel calm, safe. These are gifts that I didn't know were possible after a certain point, you know? I had done so much damage to myself and to other people that, you know, the steps obviously helped me reverse all of the, not reverse, but work through doing the work, you know, set me free, you know? So mental health, you know, mental health and trusting my own word. Okay. I used to tell people I could be there or do that. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that. Oh, that's a Sunday. Like, I'm going to be hungover. Or, you know, no, I can't speak at your wedding because that's terrifying. I'll be drunk before I get there. So, you know, my greatest gift to myself is peace, is trusting myself, learning who I am again. I have this like childlike stop and smell the roses gratitude. Like, I could keep going, you know, about all these like emotions. And, you know, Dave's last podcast with you said it best. Like, you could just cry with joy for no reason, you know? And that to me is the greatest gift. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be so grateful in this moment and to live right now.
I think, yeah, I agree. And it's one of those things that, like, I asked the question because I think it's very hard to put into one answer, right? Because, like, I am grateful for so many different gifts at different times. And, like, I think, you know, being 3.5 years into sobriety and meeting a lot of great people and working a program and doing all that stuff, I think I've been able to, you know, you said it best, like, stop and smell the roses. Like, the very simple things in my life on a day-to-day, I'm very grateful for. And I've had opportunities open up to me in sobriety that, like, I could have never dreamed of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's all those cheesy slogans, you know, do the next right thing. Like, one day, all those like slogans that we talk about, like, you know, that you hate at the beginning and then you realize how true they are. And now I just embrace them. And it's just those small things that we do, I think, on a day-to-day basis that keep us sober and, you know, helping others, right? Like, I remember my very first sponsor, he was in Ottawa, and shout out to Father John out in Ottawa, because I got sober over COVID. So, like, I was a Zoom baby, right?
Which was very hard, Drew. Like,
it was something. Yeah, it was something. It was something. And he was in Ottawa, and I remember it was just before Christmas. Like, I think my first meeting was like mid-December, like the 23rd of December.
Yeah, it's like the dead of winter.
Like, right before Christmas, like, you know.
In COVID.
My sponsor was like, well, he wasn't even my sponsor yet. I was kind of like asking him. I didn't really know what's a sponsor, what do you do kind of thing. And he's like, listen, I'm going to break this whole book down for you. He's like, don't drink, help others, and pray. He's like, if you do those 3 things, you're good. And now I realize how right he was, how easy that is for us to do. But I think
stuff of the program.
It is, but I definitely took the hardest way to it. You know what? Let me ask you this question I haven't asked. How did sobriety go for you? Was it linear?
It was, you know, yes, it was very much hard, and it had ups and downs. It was like all the things you hear, but it was life or death. And it was like quality of life or death, you know? But yeah, it was, I just did the steps of the program, and I really did one day at a time, you know, because that was survival. I just lived for today. That's all I had left in me anyways. I haven't relapsed, but I don't say that with a badge of honor or like I'm better than anybody in the program. I haven't relapsed because my life was so shit that by the time I caught a sober breath and realized I had a problem, I'm so scared to go back there, you know? Like, when I see people doing drugs and drinking on like movies, like when people bang a line on a movie, I get physically like, oof, oh, and I get so uncomfortable, you know, and it's because I am so scared of that life. Like that life, I look back 2.5 years, it's disgusting. Like I was just a monster in so many ways. And so it's a fear-based sobriety for now. I'm sure I will morph as I do the work again and the steps over and I read the book and I keep going to meetings and I sponsor and I do all the things the program says to elevate my sobriety. But I'm terrified. So yes, linear and hard and worth it. And I just want to say one thing to the people who are considering getting sober. The amount you think that people will hate you or judge you or be mad at you or like point their finger. I have been met with nothing but admiration. People tell me, and I think this is crazy, that what I'm doing is important and that I have inspired them to drink less. That's a big one for me. Women my age, you know, I'm over 40 and the party has to end sooner or later. And we don't have to get together and get drunk and drink. We can get together and work out. We can get together and just walk and have coffee. I don't judge you if you don't want to spend your Friday night downtown screaming over music and like paying overpriced food anymore. Like we can do this now together in supporting each other in a positive way, positive, healthy, happy hobbies, my one girlfriend calls it. And that surprised me. I never thought that anybody would ever praise me for being a piece of shit and having to fucking take alcohol and drugs out of the equation to be normal, you know? So I just want the people to know that, and everybody who cares about you wants you back. They want their friend, their son, their boyfriend, or their sister. Like, they want you back. And they will, whatever grievances you have to work through, it might sound so heavy at the time, but it's all possible, you know? One day at a time, just staying sober.
What is one memory from sobriety that keeps you going?
Oh, my goodness. I'll try not to get choked out. At my 1 year, I got my 1 year chip at Erin Mills, and I invited my mom and her new husband, and a bunch of girlfriends, and I didn't think too much of it. I just said, these people have been there for me. I'm going to invite them and just have a 1 year chip. And I actually wasn't going to do it. I kind of fell back from Erin Mills, and I felt like it was a little bit, so now I'm so humble, okay, that I can't have a 1 year chip. You know, I went from like being the fucking loudest one in the room to now like, oh, I'm shy, I mustn't. But, you know, my sponsor said, it's not about you. It's about showing the program works. Get the fuck up there and, you know, just be honest. And so I invited my family. I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And when my mom came into the Erin Mills, she came running down the aisle, like I was at the front, and she had a bouquet of flowers and she was crying. I said, oh my God, you're crying already. Nothing's happened, crazy lady. Like, stop. And I realized in that moment that I have improved, my sobriety has improved other people's lives in such a way, you know? And this was super touching that I meant, because, you know, you're so shameful and you're such a shithead and selfish that you forget that you mean something. Like, I just wanted to be left alone to use, like how you said, like, just let me use in peace. Like, let me drink and drug on my own. This isn't your problem. Like, because I feel so shitty about myself. You shouldn't need me either. Like, go away. And I realized that, like, these people love you. And it was just, every time I think of, you know, being a shit version of myself, I just think of my mom with her little, she's like a little thing, and she's running down AA, and then she talked to everybody in the room, and just, you know.
She was happy for you.
She was happy for me.
Happy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, I understand what your sponsor was saying. Yes, this is not for you. This is to show the newcomers that this program works. Because 1 year is a big deal.
It is.
Especially
I didn't
when you're
realize that either.
When you're fighting one day at a time, 1 year is like, you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it's also helping some of the 5, 7, 10, 25 years see that it's still possible, right? To see the person when you walked in King City to you getting a 1 year chip at Erin Mills. I think, you know, it helps even some of the people that are, you know, well into sobriety see that the program still works too, right? Because it's a reminder for the old timers. But you did mention stuff about like guilt and shame. And I wanted to touch on that a bit. To like, how do you deal with the, you know, some of the guilt and shame of things that you did in the past? Like, how does Rachel handle that today?
Yeah, good question. This has been a tough one for me. Being a woman, you know, it's no secret in the program that a lot of us deal with like promiscuous behavior, self-seeking, attention from men, you know, and I don't, in sobriety or long before I used, you know, I wasn't that way. You know, I was a tomboy. I was the guy's girl. I grew up with brothers. I never had daddy issues, and my dad was my best friend. But there is a lot of shame around my behavior, not just sexually, but what I allowed people to do to me or treat me. So it's a heavy shame in sobriety, you know? And like a lot of the other women, we say, like, we put ourselves in weird places and positions and at risk. How do I deal with the shame? I first have to have a greater understanding of your step one, that you were not yourself. You had no control. You know, you were powerless over your addiction and your substance of, you know, your DOC, your drug of choice. So maybe that detaches me, and maybe it's taking me out of accountability, but I have to know that that wasn't me, and the way I behaved was the worst version of me. So I have to have some grace, you know? You have to give yourself grace over, you were chemically induced in such a way that you can't compete with that. Your dopamine levels are at like 10,000, like Google it. Like chocolate gives you 100 decibels of dopamine. Cocaine and alcohol and sex is giving you, you know, you're off the Richter chart, baby. Like everything goes, right? So I have to just forgive myself for my actions. And again, like I said, like you said earlier, the living amends, that shows me that I have, you know, I acknowledge my behavior and I will continue to do right by myself and by others. And my sponsor, and the steps. The steps, you have to do them. And like sometimes I've had to redo a step, you know, on the same subject, you know, because as you get sober, your emotions change, your perspective changes, you get older, and other things come up about it, you know. So you got to keep doing the work, and it helps, you know. It's hard, but it helps. And I hate homework, and I always hated school. So like reading, but again, podcasts, you can listen to the big book and apps, like, you know, you don't have to be old school reading, like, you know, you can listen, and there's ways, you just have to put in the work, you know.
What does sobriety look like, Rachel, for today?
Oh God, sobriety is my favorite fucking thing. Let me tell you, I've lost 50 pounds, okay, which is amazing. I mean, not hard when you're pounding, you know, thousands of calories worth of tequila, wine, champagne, you know. I'm so grateful for that, because I had to get my body back. Any of the women in their 40s will understand this is important. I had to get my body back because my heaviness and inflammation was a reminder of my shit life. Does that make sense? I was like, ugh, this is all like drinking nights. Like I looked at me like I was still an addict, you know? And so this was super important to me. Also super important to my mental health, right? So I strongly believe if you're going to get sober, you have to make great changes. You know, you can't necessarily you have to push yourself further than you ever did before. You know, I remember when I got my like 9-month chip in NA one day, this newcomer said, like, how did you do it? And I said, honestly, it was a total reinvention of myself. Everything I used to do, I'm doing the opposite, man. My greatest thinking got me here. This isn't good, you know? So what does sobriety look like now? Man, days are fun, so much laughing. I work out, I cook healthy. I know, you know, I see the memes on Instagram about like, we used to pop pills and do the drugs, and now we look at vitamins and like calories, and we're like, oh, I'm not putting that in my body. And that's how I am now. And I think it's funny, and I embrace it. But sobriety now just looks like, you know, now at this point, doing the service, trying to give back, you know, going back to meetings. And I have never sponsored before, and I was scared to. Again, I said, I don't have anything to tell people. I can't help people. I can't even help myself. But now it's like over time, one day at a time, things change, you know, like you will never stay the same. So sobriety now is just, I'm so happy. Everything is so great. And I know that's probably super irritating for the newcomer to hear. And maybe my story doesn't sound that bad to people, but I want to say, I always thought the program was full of like homeless people, like, you know, guys who lived under the bridges and shit. It wasn't until I started going to the rooms, doctors, pilots, you know, and not to say that matters, but these are upper echelon of society. Everybody in the program that I know are beyond brilliant, you know, profound thoughts in these rooms, and the laughing and the wit, you know, and I love it. I think it's the greatest thing. I remember when I first got sober, Meg said to me, sobriety is not a punishment. Sobriety is a gift. And I held on to that, you know, and they used to say like, the gifts of sobriety will come, just like, you know, all those cliches. And I'm living it now. And I know it's still early. I could still have the rose colored glasses on, but it is so much better life now than it was before. So I'll take it, you know, I will take this life over that life any day.
So if sobriety was a soundtrack, what song will be on it?
You know, I am a huge music head. And I when you asked me that, I said, oh, it's a lot of pressure, but I came up with this one. It was my dad's favorite song, and it's so fucking good. I'm Still Standing by Elton John. And if you listen to that on the car ride home, you'll just laugh.
And you'll start singing.
And you'll start singing. Everybody loves that song.
Everyone loves that song.
The 80s or 70s like theme song for like, I don't know what, but it's a good song for that.
Well, that's another story on the Sober Tapes. See, these aren't just interviews. They're reminders that recovery is possible, even when you're in the darkest of places. So until next time, let's keep the tape rolling, keep moving forward.